I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. We have a DA coming on the show.
Jeff keeps threatening me with charges. Not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying he keeps threatening.
6 a.m., Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Lots to talk about today. I feel like we should have a button that plays a song, Bill, that's just like...
Yeah. Yeah.
Anytime the socialists down at the state capitol just throw another...
Oh, yeah.
Provenly wrong socialist idea right back out there. This time, price fixing. They want to fix the prices of the hot dogs at the Broncos Stadium, Coors Field. It's too expensive.
And airports and everything else. And I think they've got a. I think they do have a point. I mean, it's not.
Gosh, of course.
Well, hang on. This is not. It's not anything that's super like. Socialist to me. This goes back to a comedic bit from 90s, early 2000s from Jerry Seinfeld. And this is, again, not necessarily the bastion of, socialist comedy, but he has a bit where he goes, do the people at the airport know what everything costs everywhere else? Because you get to the airport and all of a sudden they think the toothbrush costs $17. And he's right about that because it is captive pricing. So he's right that you're being gouged based on captive pricing. I think that there is a point to it, although the solution is incorrect as far as what they're doing. But yeah, they do have a point based on captive pricing. That somehow we walk into this venue and because we have paid for entry or we have, have a transaction that allows us entry, we now submit to be charged more for things. Huh?
Yes, because it's harder to get it out there. Huh? Oh, my goodness. All right, we're going to get into this coming up.
But I paid for access. You already took my money to walk in.
You think things should get cheaper?
No, I don't think they need to be 3 times as expensive as what they are in the real world because I walk through the door. That's the issue. The issue is that this is failed policies over and over again wherever it's tried. And in Colorado, they're like, you know what we need to do? More failed policies. Price fixing. I just love the idea that because I hand you money to go to an event, you now can gouge me based on pricing. That's a really interesting economic argument. That's the part. It's like because I have paid for entry, now you get to screw me. Fantastic.
Yeah, because
Good job.
It's harder to get in there. All right, so we're going to get into this. Colorado Democrats plan bills to address stadium concession pricing. Michael Doherty, DA in Boulder County, going to be joining us. Candidate for Colorado Attorney General. He is standing between you and Jenna Griswold, being your Attorney General. So we'll talk with Michael in the 7 o'clock hour. We'll give you the latest on what's happening in Minnesota. And Mikey Johnson, the mayor of Denver, out with his priorities for 2026. All this and more. Now is time for the news.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good Tuesday morning. 21 degrees and mostly cloudy out there in Denver. Expecting a high of 47 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, DJT is heading to Iowa today. His speech in the city of Clive will focus on affordability and energy. A bald eagle is recovering after being illegally shot a few weeks ago in North Glen. Caravan Hoos from CPW says a ball bearing was found in its wing. The eagle went through surgery. Man, this hurts to hear this, but I am so glad this thing is alive and now working toward full recovery. You can't shoot a bald eagle.
No, that's terrible.
Yep.
I don't feel like we have too many of them in Colorado.
You know what? I see a lot near where I live. Yeah, it is awesome. There is a tree and probably a mile away from me, big old, I'm probably 100-year-old tree. And I've seen 3 in a nest or wherever they're coming from, but I mean, just absolutely awesome.
There are 300 resident bald eagles year-round, but this population swells to over 1,000 during the winter migrations from November to March. As eagles from further north arrive, making winter the peak viewing season, with numbers reaching well over 1,000 across the state.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The more you know.
Thank you. Love the logo, by the way. Great job, Crowley.
Yeah, Mark Crowley.
Yes, that thing is awesome. I was checking. I saw the corner of it yesterday when you guys were doing the show, and I was like, yeah, I think we got a little logo in the back. And sure enough, there it is today. Looks good. Love it. Aurora City Councilman Rob Andrews is not stepping down following his arrest for suspicion of driving under the influence. Andrews was arrested on January 17th, and police reports indicate his blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit. He was also seen on body cam footage saying that he didn't want the public to know about his arrest. I wonder why. Andrews read a prepared statement at yesterday's city council meeting saying he has the right to due process and that he doesn't believe that some of the claims made against him. You get what you vote for. Denver Mayor Johnston is unveiling his citywide goals for this year. Downtown is a priority.
One will be looking at how we can convert commercial office space into apartments and residential units. We already have about almost 500 units in the pipeline of the Downtown Denver Authority to do that.
He also wants to make sure what he calls catalytic developments like the Park Hill Golf Course, Ball Arena, River Mile, and the stadium for Denver Summit FC, make sure that those are delivered on time. And then there's that little homeless problem.
What it looks like is we get to a stage where the total number of folks who are entering or experiencing homelessness in Denver at one time is smaller than the number of available beds we have to move them into.
Wow.
What?
Let's listen to that again.
What?
And never believe anyone who says fakes, okay? Fakes. I don't like folks. But he says, so here we go, here we go.
What it looks like is we get to a stage where the total number of folks who are entering or experiencing homelessness in Denver at one time is smaller than the number of available beds we have to move them into.
Wait a minute. Did you hear the same thing I did?
I'm trying to figure out what he said. Like, look, I apologize. I was educated in government-run schools. The total amount of people is fewer than the amount of
beds.
But then why do we have homeless problems? That doesn't make any sense.
Here we go. One more time.
What it looks like is we get to a stage where the total number of folks.
Okay, so the total number of fakes
Fakes or folks?
Folks.
Oh, okay.
Folks, yeah.
Folks.
You do that little conversational writing. Here we go.
Who are entering or experiencing homelessness in Denver.
So they've applied for their application to become homeless, and they're entering the homeless arena. And here we go.
At one time is smaller than the number of available beds we have to move them into.
All right, well then homelessness will go down, right?
There you go.
Am I getting this
That's
wrong?
right.
But I want to go back to this apartments issue, okay?
Yeah.
Because I had heard this on the news the other day. Apartment vacancies have reached its highest level in 16 years.
Right.
So we have so many apartments open, and Mayor Mikey waddles down and says, "My priority is going to be more apartment companies."
Yeah.
So nobody's going to work in Denver.
No.
Nobody's living in Denver. And his solution is to take the existing offices and turn them into apartments. That seems like a big just practice in shuffling the decks on the Titanic or shuffling the chairs on the decks of the Titanic.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Right?
That's so weird. I expected so much more from him. Top Border Patrol official Greg Bavino is leaving Minneapolis and returning to his old position in El Centro, California. His departure comes as Border Patrol is planning to drop the number of agents in Minneapolis this week. Susan Kokenda always puts everything in a perfect nutshell. I love this. She examined how VP JD described Minneapolis far-left agitators working with local authorities. Far-left agitators working with local authorities, like Rachel Sayre, the EMS chief in Minnie.
My background is in international humanitarian response in conflict zones in Yemen, Haiti, Syria, Iraq, and Ukraine. What I've seen here is what I've seen there. A powerful entity violently and intentionally terrorizing people.
Did you catch that? She just told you exactly who she is. Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Ukraine, pretty much everywhere the empire has run a color revolution, she was involved. And during the Obama administration, she worked for USAID, the very institution that Donald Trump and Marco Rubio just shut down precisely because it was a hotbed of anti-American activity, funding the NGOs that helped flood illegal immigrants into this country.
Ding, 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 ding. Several backcountry skiers are recovering from various extreme cold injuries over the weekend near Aspen. Pitkin County Sheriff's Office says one was unresponsive, another in critical condition, and a few more had frostbite, vision loss, and other cold-related injuries. CareFlight made 3 attempts to land due to bad weather, then took the victims to the hospital. No other details released. That is frightening. Senate Democrats preparing to speed up passage of 5 government funding bills to avoid a partial government shutdown. Oh, here we go again. Schmuck Schumer made the announcement Monday. However, the Democrats' plan will exclude funding for DHS. Of course it will. All right, the death toll from the massive winter storm now stands at around 3 dozen. Across multiple states, hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses, mostly in the South, are still without electricity after ice and freezing rain took their toll on power lines. Pistons at the Nuggets tonight without Jokic. He may return in the next 10 to 12 days. We'll see. Avs at the Senators tomorrow at 5:30. That's when they will drop the puck. It's 18 in Castle Rock, 20 in Lakewood, 21 in Denver. You're waking up with Jeff and Billy. And the new logo, it is Tuesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your KNUS forecast for the Denver metro area calls for partly to mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures upper teens and lower 20s. We'll be under a cool northwest flow for the next several days. This will keep temperatures near to slightly above average to round out the month of January. Daytime highs for this Tuesday on through Thursday, upper 40s to low 50s. Overnight lows going to be in the mid to upper 20s. Low 50s for Friday and Saturday, kicking off February on Sunday with highs near 60. I'm meteorologist Mark Huer in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Billy, you got some news for us?
Yeah, we're going to be bringing Peter Boyles on with us because we lost a radio legend last night. James Walker, Dr. Daddio, passed away. Pete reached out to me this morning, and I want to take a moment or two to just talk about a guy that is a Colorado, Denver, and really just a national radio pioneer. He's the guy that started KDKO in the late 60s. And it was basically the first R&B station in a major market kind of a thing. He was breaking rules, and he was doing things that all of the insiders and industry experts said couldn't be done, would never get an audience, and he proved them wrong. I mean, he is literally a radio pioneer based on type of music, based on broadcasting, and based on what he brought to Colorado, and he proved it could be done. Nobody thought that KDKO could be, it's a minor signal in a large city, and how could you do it with that weird music that the strange people like? Yeah. So, Pete, how are you doing this morning, my friend?
Hey, good morning, you guys. Thanks for doing this, and I'll have Brother Jeff with me on Saturday morning on the show. And we'll talk more about Jimmy, because Jeff worked there. I met him, I don't know how long ago, when I was like a traffic reporter or something. I met Jimmy Walker, and he was, as you pointed out, Billy, he was a pioneer in Denver. He was, he came up from Houston, Texas, and he's really a Louisiana guy. And he grew up in the heart of Jim Crow when things changed. He was 85, rich life, great life. They bought KDKO, and that was one of the first African-American owners of a radio station, and really in the country, guys were getting those jobs. But radio pioneer, Jeff Stad knew him, I'm sure, and they put on shows. They brought the Jacksons to town. They did all kinds of different things. And then that became Ralph. If you guys remember talk radio, Jimmy sold, and Anschutz bought the stick, KDKO, and he turned it over to his son-in-law, and they launched Ralph, the companion to Alice.
Yes.
Alice and Ralph.
Yep.
The Cramdens, absolutely. And that tanked, and it tanked for considerable. But and then Jimmy worked with us over at iHeart at 760. Chris Olinger hired him, and he worked on 760, and then he did TV with us a couple of times, and he was, he was hard edged. He was rough, but he had to be.
Yeah.
And brother Jeff worked for him. A lot of guys worked for him.
And he brought a lot of radio talent and groomed a lot of people that wouldn't get shots elsewhere. And I also remember reading that he was significant in the start of the Juneteenth celebration and those type of marches in and around Denver as well. He's one of the first voices that allowed that type of promotion of those events.
Those are that's actually a great event. I recommend great jazz music and good food too.
He did a lot. He did a lot of stuff. He brought jazz to Denver, and he brought the blues. I went and saw a show with the infamous and legendary Bobby Blue Bland, and it was a Daddio show, and they had him late at night. And if you went, you went, and that's where I think I first met Brother Jeff's mom, and was at a Daddio show. And so, anyhow, it's bittersweet. He was 85. He was in bad health, but he came in and did the Saturday shows. He wrote a book, and it was entitled "Radio in My Soul," and he wrote a book about everything he had done. But it's really kind of you guys to recognize the life of this man. And Jeff, you'll do the Saturday show with me. He's a Hall of Famer. He was the man for a long time.
And the thing is that he did things very differently. He had to do something, he was doing a different format, bringing, in a minor signal. And there were all sorts of things. He had his big personalities. He really liked big DJ personalities and really wanted to get the listeners and the advertisers involved. Was just browsing some stuff this morning, and they said one of the things Dr. Daddio did is he would bring the advertisers down into the studio to read the advertisements themselves and hang out in the studio with the jocks, which is something we still do today. I found an old programming card, and I don't know what year it's from, but the lineup goes Bob Moore, 5:30 to 10, Don Miller, 10 to noon, then Billy Soul from 12 to 4, Dr. Daddio runs drive time 4 to 7, and then it's Charles Love. So that, one of the old time lineups, which again makes sense as far as what he was doing. And they had a liner card that he'd read, things like that. They had stuff like, one of the ways they said, one of the best ways Dr. Daddy-O would open up the show, and he would say, "Hey, I'm here especially for you nanny grannies, your babysitters, midnight ramblers, early morning gamblers, cop snitchers, women whippers. It's Daddy-O, live in living color. I'm the boss with the hot sauce." Yeah.
I grew up with those guys too, and I think Jeff's dad, we knocked all of that off. And,
heck yeah!
He called himself broke as a goat. He said that, and he had the Daddy-O house party. That was his drive show, and I'd listened. I was a fan, and eventually, got to meet him, and then I did fairly well, and so then he and I became friends, and he was in that era of and when I first met Jeff's dad, and we were all working, gigging, and we kind of knocked a lot of that stuff off. And so if you listen to the top 40 guys, they were knocking those guys off, and it was just a different time for radio. But that was music radio, and that's gone with the wind. I don't know if that's coming back, but in terms of how successful the Fox was, and KBPI and all the KOSI, they were monsters, and Daddy played out. I mean, he got his fair share, and then when he sold out, to Phil Anschutz's son-in-law, and then he kind of went into repose. He went into semi-retirement, and he was Jimmy Walker.
Yeah.
So
he's going to be missed. He changed the Denver landscape and basically, changed what Jocks were doing at the time and broke a lot of guys in town. That was great. Well, thank you so much, Pete. We've got to move on,
Thanks,
but it's
brother.
nice to hear from you.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
so much. Have a great
Peter
day.
Boyles, you'll be covering
join
this
him
on Saturday.
Yeah, he's the best.
9 to 1 on
Yep.
710 KNUS. All right, how about a simple New Year's resolution? Even one that I could achieve. Reverse the clock on hair loss with Advanced Hair's simple one-day FUE treatment. You will feel more confident, more youthful when you witness your own natural hair growing into those places that have been balding or thinning for years. From Advanced Hair's breakthrough technology to their highly experienced team, there's no one I trust more in hair restoration. Their simple FUE treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day. When your new hair is backed by the Advanced Hair Guarantee. Simply put, Advanced Hair's exceptional standard of care makes your comfort and your results their top priority. Celebrate this new year with a fuller head of hair and get a free consultation, $250 off, and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR. Discover what meeting your resolution could look like with the before and after pictures at advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. All right, Billy and I getting into the debates. Coming up, Colorado Democrats unveil bill targeting costs of stadium food and beer prices. They are so successful at lowering the costs of our health care, our education, our housing, and our taxes. I can't wait to see what they could do with concession food price fixing. We'll get to that and more. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Headline coming from the Denver Post. Stadium food and beer prices too high. Of course they are. But Colorado lawmakers unveil bills targeting costs. I would be okay with this if they could point to a thing. One thing they have been involved in our lives that has gotten cheaper. And I go, thank God the government got involved with this. Colorado Democrats unveiled a trio of proposals Monday aimed at retching down rising prices that they blamed on corporate greed and at forestalling newer attempts at varying pricing for different customers. The proposals include a measure that would require price transparency for what might be considered, quote, captive consumers, unquote, including at sporting events or airports. Another would prohibit wholesalers from giving preferential pricing to large groups. And a third would ban companies from using consumer personal data to set prices or wages. Can you just take a second? I just need to take a second and point this out. Okay. Democrats are looking at corporations and going, you using personal data to set a price. It's a terrible thing. Don't do it. Meanwhile, same Democrats looking at your personal wealth data and going, we're now going to determine what your tax bracket's going to be. How is that not the same exact thing? Democrats are going, well, you make over $1 million a year, right? They want to get rid of the flat tax. They want to move to this gradient tax structure. Well, now we're going to use your personal data to determine how much I can gouge you on the taxes, but I'm going to prevent a corporation from doing that. All right. Affordability isn't this abstract concept. Everyone has experienced the $20 beer at the Nuggets game and the $10 water at the airport or the $80 Tylenol at the emergency room, said Representative Yara Zokai, I think is how you pronounce her name, a Fort Collins Democrat, during a news conference at the state capitol when people are forced to pay more simply because they are strapped. That isn't the free market. It's exploitation. I feel like it would be just so helpful if I could just force all Democrats to read Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics. Because he explores all these things. This isn't a brand new idea. This has been tried in lots of places. And there's reasons why you don't have price fixing. Because at the end of the day, you're going to end up with trade-offs. Okay? So let me help give you a basic economic analysis, and then you can jump in and tell me how terrible of an evil capitalist I am, you callers and text members. So in economics, there's trade-offs. And one of the trade-offs is if you create a venue where people are charged a premium to be able to buy something, well, then the company, for instance, has a vested interest in making sure that there's good things offered to you because you're going to pay a lot. The ultimate decision maker is you. If it reaches too high of a price, let's say they want to sell you a $200 beer at the Nuggets game, well, you're just not going to buy it. And as a result, the company doesn't make much money. And so that is a force. That is a pushback. You as the consumer are telling the corporation, too much. It's too high. I'm not willing to do this. Okay? But the trade-off when you have the government step in and force the prices down is corporations, one, don't have that much of an incentive anymore to be there, to provide you a great product, to want to connect with you and make sure you have a great experience. There's that incentive disappears. And so part of the trade-offs that may happen, as you might see in healthcare and education, is that when you artificially force down a price, guess what happens? Quality disappears because there's not quite the incentive to provide a great quality product. Okay? Price ceilings and price floors throughout history have been failed concepts. Yet socialists that run the state, who have never been properly educated outside of government-run education, continue to try failed policies over and over again. This should be an easy, hard no. If you don't like the prices, you as a consumer have the ultimate power to just simply not buy the product. That's my rant this morning. All right, call in. Tell me how terrible of a capitalist I am. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line 720-819-5115. By the way, if you're like, but this is a captive audience, all that stuff, guess what? You want the businesses to go through the extra labor to get you something, even if it costs more. Have you ever been like in an airport and let's say you need some Imodium AD at the airport? All right, there are times I'd be willing to pay $200 for that Imodium AD. I am in desperate need of it. Right? I want the company to have all the motivation to go through all the security and drive way out east and go through the whole process, right? To stock that. Boy, oh boy, am I happy they did that. The worst thing you can do is tie it to the government, because they'll never get it done, because there's just no incentive to go through it. And if you say that the price is too high, the fix is just allowing the consumer not to purchase it. Bill Thorpe, your response, sir.
Yeah, the problem with allowing the consumer not to purchase it is because of what we outlined at the beginning, is a captive audience. When you have them being captive, there isn't a choice based on competition. That's it. The captive audience artificially suppresses competition, and that's part of the issue. There are a number of laws that talk about unfair practices specifically in those circumstances that we have. And I think that I like the idea of having a relative cap on those captive audience or that type of an economic venue. But I think that the one the Democrats have proposed is wrong. I think it's stupid, because I do understand what you're saying a little bit about the captive market audience, and I would give them a little bit of a markup, specifically because they set up their spot there. Airports are a little bit different. If you have something inside of like Ball Arena or inside the Broncos facility, you do not have the ability to sell day after day. However, price it as what you want, I think doesn't work. There are a lot of airports that cap things at around 18% or so of what market price is in the area. And that would seem to be a lot more reasonable. And even the Broncos have gone to a point where they understand that the idea of charging, $18 for a beer and $17 for a pretzel is ridiculous. They have a specific shop inside of the stadium where things are $5. It's a $5 hot dog, $5 nachos and cheese, $5 pretzel, $5 peanuts, $5 chips. $5. And so everything in that little shopette that's food, $5. Now it's done kind of like the big giant trough that you see in the back of the McDonald's or the Arby's or wherever you go, where they just drop the stuff down and you just walk through and grab it and go. It's really easy, really convenient, but that's part of what they were doing, is responding to it. That pretzel that runs you $5 at Mile High, doing a little bit of a search, will run you about $6.50 at Coors and $8 over at Ball Arena. Same pretzel. The only difference is what ticket you already paid to have access to. And that's where inside of the captive pricing, especially at arenas, I can understand the idea of capping it, is because you are already charging me money to enter the venue. And now you're going to charge me more money for the stuff inside. And
Bill, you should take that frustration and that anger and say no. I love the power, because look, we're somebody's got to set what the price is. Right? Somebody's determining what the price is. And there's all these forces happening to determine that price. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a form of democracy when you, with your dollar, say yes or no. It sends all these signals. Things change and adjust as a result of it. But this lady, Yara So Kay, sitting with her little law degree at the state capitol, determining what prices should be? No, sir.
I mean, again, we have things about antitrust laws, and it's the idea that because you are a captive audience and you need something, we then allow the provider of that service or product to raise the price. Don't tell the healthcare industry, because why don't they get to charge you 5 times the amount of medical care pricing that you need when you're having a heart attack? You need that a lot right then. You got to have it. Why can't they surge price you? You don't have to pay it.
Wouldn't you want that? Wouldn't you want that?
But
you'd be willing to pay for it, and you would want the best, and you would want a guy that had spent so much time and energy studying so that he could do the very best.
When you're paying $8 for that pretzel at Ball Arena, it's not the best pretzel. Hardly the best pretzel. Is it the best hot dog you've ever had when you're paying $18 for the hot dogs there? No. That's the issue, is you seem to assume that simply because they raise the price, quality gets better. There's no indication of that. That Coors Banquet beer, that Coors Banquet beer is the exact same damn Coors Banquet beer you buy at the liquor store, you buy at the bar, you buy in Broncos Stadium. It just costs you more in one area. The quality's not better. It's not a better beer.
You're looking at simply maybe taste in that analysis. How about the venue? How about a Coors beer, hanging out with my friends, watching a Dierks Bentley concert? Now, isn't that entire situation better than sitting on my couch?
But isn't the argument the fact that I'm buying the beer because the provider has the incentive to provide a better product? There's nothing better about the product. Just because I have made the choice to put myself in a different location doesn't make the beer better. And that was your argument. No, it doesn't.
You're looking at one aspect of it. You're just going taste. Just because the taste
product
is the exact same.
The product is identical. And so you can't say that the product is necessarily a better quality at one venue because I paid a lot of money to get in there and then paid more for it. The product is exactly the same quality. That's the issue, is that they're charging me more for a product that is exactly the same quality.
You're ignoring major components of this equation. All right, join the conversation. We'd love to have you. 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line, 720-819-5115. The people that have made everything more expensive in your life now think they could solve the problems of high prices at Ball Arena, Coors Field, and Mile High Stadium. Let's go to Jim in Denver. Good morning, Jim. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Government's not going to lower prices ever. Its entire role in a capitalist society is to have inflation, not deflation. It's just the way capitalism is. And in fact, the tariffs right now, they are absolutely rewarding inefficiencies. There's no other way to look at it. The tariffs are keeping companies that aren't competitive in business. We just don't like the fact that it's a worldwide competition now.
Yeah, in part, I understand that's kind of the ultimate global free market argument. But when that happens, you suck up all the manufacturing in this country. It's why it's gone. I mean, if you drive around rural Colorado, Jim, there's just nothing out there. So all we've become is essentially a society of Amazon purchasers. And so you work for Amazon. Everything else is made somewhere else, that type of thing. And I think they're trying to address that. Do you have another solution, Jim?
Well, the only other solution would be to have numbers of young people entering the economy for 25 years like they did from 65 to 80. And then you have an expansive economy, money that is coming into creation at the rate of 10,000 people a day getting jobs and buying houses and participating. We now have the opposite. We have 10,000 people a day removing themselves from the economy, and a very restrictive thing going on. So when someone comes out there with tariffs to try and keep it all going, it gets more expensive than any other wave of expenses and expansion in history. We need young people.
Jim
so we
with the
might as well
message
just,
at 6:42
support
in the morning.
young
Get
people.
after it. You still in bed out there. Add to the population. Thank you,
Yeah,
Jim.
thanks,
I
Jim. Have a good
appreciate
day.
the call. Let's go to Aaron in Denver. Good morning, Aaron. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Yeah, good morning there, guys. When you go to a sporting event and you paying, $20 for a beer or whatever you paying for a hot dog, whatever, it's a choice. No one's putting a gun to your head to pay $20 for a beer. And Bill is right. I mean, whether you a Coors beer is the same as buying it at your local liquor store. It's really no different. And if you're paying money at the airport, no one's putting a gun to your head that you have to buy water or pop or this product or at airport. I mean, it's a choice. I mean, you spending your hard-earned money to go to a Nuggets game or a Broncos game, and I don't know if the tickets are going to be to attend the Super Bowl that's coming up in 2 weeks. Those tickets are going to be crazy. And if you go to a concert, those tickets are crazy. I mean, when does it end? And the dumb donkeys that are proposing this crazy stuff, they don't run a business. They wouldn't know how to balance a budget of a lemonade stand. So it's just ridiculous. You don't know how to run a business. You don't know the ins and outs, what's going on behind closed doors. But you're coming up with some crazy proposal of price fixing. Basically, the government at the local level wants to pick the winners and the losers.
Now, Aaron, I got a question for you. What do you do with the idea that at these events or the airport or anything else, it is unfair competition because they don't necessarily allow you to make a different choice? They have restrictions on what you can and can't bring into those events. So they restrict what you can bring into the event and then say, well, if you want to do something else, make a different choice. But they've restricted the choices you have at the front end and then gouge you at the other end.
Yeah, but you know that. I mean, as a consumer, you know that going in. Whether you're going to go watch Taylor Swift, she's got her merchandise out there. You can buy it, not buy it. I mean, it really just comes down to choice. Here's your options. You don't like those options? Well, heck no. I'm not going to spend my hard-earned money that I'm busting my tail, working my butt off to buy this $20 bill, this beer, or this expensive hot dog, or this ice cream, or if I want to go
Aaron,
to
I got a question then. Is the goal then of the concessionaires inside of those events to sell the product or to provide an economic financial check for families visiting? And what I mean by that is this, is that for years when we would go to the Bronco games and other games, it was known in the family, you buy the pretzel because it is the least expensive food option for value based on size. And now, most recently in the last season or so at the Bronco games, we go and we end up buying pretzel, hot dog, sometimes nachos. And the thing is, I'm spending and I'm buying those things at what could have been, actually it's a larger spend than what the singular price is for the pretzel. Rather than spending $8-9 on a pretzel, I'm spending $15, $16, $17 at the three items because they feel more affordable. I'm spending more at the venue with lower prices. Isn't there an incentive there where if the prices were at least, I'm not saying dirt cheap. I'm not even saying they have to equal what's outside the venue. But if they were more reasonable, and what I mean by that is $5 pretzel, $5 hot dog. Because of that, it's easy for me to get to $15 rather than stopping my spend of that $8 pretzel.
Yeah, well, Bill, when you go to these events, whether it's a Nuggets game or see the Avs or whatever venue, first of all, it's a privilege just to be there, and obviously you're being there, you go in there to be entertained, whatever it's a Taylor Swift concert, whatever. I mean, wherever you go in there to be, you've been there to entertain. You know there's going to be expenses I mean, just buying the ticket to go see the event, you make a choice. Do I really want to pay $20 for this beer or this pretzel or this ice cream or whatever these concessions are selling, or some fancy, dinner, whatever it is. I mean, you basically decide, I'm going to splurge. I worked hard for my money. I've came to this event to be entertained. I'm willing to pay the high price for this food, even though I know, 99.9% people know I'm being ripped off. But it's a night. I'm with my family.
It's a premium. It's a premium to be able to do that. And Aaron, you're exactly right with the experience and everything that's baked into it. And I'm just going to remind everybody, there's not a single thing these Democrats down at the state capitol have touched ever that has gotten cheaper as a result of it. Aaron, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
Thanks,
we got
Aaron.
to
Have a
get
good
to you
day.
choose the news. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Lots of text messages this morning. People going, why are you stopping with the concessions? Let's put price caps on tickets, lift tickets, Taylor Swift tickets, Broncos, Raiders. Oh, there's no cap on the Raiders needed.
No. Those are because of surge pricing. Those will be a real low.
Those you can watch.
Yeah.
I think they're paying you at this point to go to their games.
Yes, they
All
are.
right. Now it's time for Bill Thorpe's You Choose the News.
Yes, it's that time of the morning where we get to be a little bit silly. It's You Choose the News, America's favorite fake radio news game show. I have spent just moments this morning scouring the interwebs to find these stories in my hands, giving them even more ridiculous headlines so that we can play this really silly fake radio news game show, because nobody in charge is awake at this hour, so we're going to take full advantage of being left unsupervised. And as always, remember, shh, it's just a big secret. Okay, Blake Olson in the news department, Jeff Hunt in the studio. Gentlemen, your headline choices are as follows. Number 1, better to ask forgiveness. Number 2, stepping into your dream career. Number 3, employment opportunity. And headline number 4, ask Sergeant Ketchum. Mr. Hunt, your choice.
Start with some employment opportunities.
Yeah, employment opportunity in Bangladesh. It's not unusual for individuals to leave the country to go make work. Bangladesh is horribly impoverished and doesn't have a lot of jobs. So it was not unusual for a bunch of Bangladeshi men to get offers for janitorial service and elsewhere around the world. Recently, one man, just after wrapping up one contract, was offered a really appealing prospect to go and work as a janitor over in Russia. Then when he and his friends showed up, they were presented with employment contracts, and surprise, those are not employment contracts. They can't read Russian. They signed military contracts. They shortly thereafter found themselves in Russian military training, which lasted, according to the men, maybe about as good as a cup of coffee. And then they were thrown onto the front lines. They said it was absolutely horrible what they were allowed to do. And when they started to protest, the Russian commander turned to them and said, your agent sent you here. We bought you from them. So the agent that they contacted them in Bangladesh sold them basically to the Russian military. And they said it's absolutely atrocious, the amount of money. And they had to pay a broker fee in order to get to Russia in the first place. And they said it's not unusual for the Russian military to say, it looks like danger over there. Grab some of the Bangladeshis, send them forward. He said he saw a number of his friends murdered when they were there on the front line. Yeah. So I know. It's horrible. Okay, Blake, better ask forgiveness. Stepping into your dream career, or ask Sergeant Ketchum?
Your dream career.
Yeah, step into your dream career. We find ourselves in India on this one, and a 20-year-old had failed the entrance exam to be a doctor twice before. Now he figured out a perfect way to actually get into medical school. He became disabled and tried to get in that way. Problem is, they discovered he cut off his own foot. And that's not allowed.
Good night.
Yeah, he cut off his own foot to get in. Jeff, final choice, ask forgiveness or Sergeant Ketchum?
Sergeant Ketchum.
Sergeant Ketchum, got to catch them all. The Pentagon now has installed in the lunchroom a Pokemon loot box. Yes, it's a vending machine where you can buy Pokemon cards at the Pentagon. Yep, just let that one sit this morning. It's exactly the same thing. They now can buy Pokemon cards at the Pentagon.
Price fixing on the Pokemon cards.
Yep, that's it. That's it. You choose the news. Back to you, sir.
All right, coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to talk with Michael Doherty. He's the DA up in Boulder County. He's running for Colorado Attorney General. Not going to want to miss this conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is KNUS.